All right, we're live now. It only took us 15 minutes for me to figure this thing out.
We're sorry about that, y'all. We're newbies to this, working out all this technical issues of this Hangout thing.
Well, I went to the whatever that other one for YouTube was, and I downloaded all the information that it said, and came up, and then some encoder wire feed or something. I about got a headache after this one right here.
I hear you.
I'm not sure if we've actually, if I have gotten, because right now it shows 0 viewers.
Uh-huh.
I think what we're doing is when I set that up to invite people is the actual key to it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't know if this one's going to show like it did last time.
No, it's got a thing over here that says questions. Like, do you have a Q&A over on your left-hand side?
Yeah, I got that up, but I know last time down at the bottom it said so many people viewing.
Yeah, right. Well, it says down at the very bottom, it says 0 viewers.
Okay, so I guess being that you're the host, you're the only one that gets to see that because I don't see it.
It's not on the very bottom. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But the thing is I know there's about 6 people that was wanting to because I've got them all over the thing. But
I don't know if there's a way you could. Well,
I'm gonna try to.
I don't know how you can invite them to the audience here without inviting them into the live chat.
Showcase. No. It's just different things that you can actually do. Is that your phone going off?
No, that's yours.
Oh. The good news is we got all kind of time to figure it out.
Yeah, but this is going to post on your YouTube channel, so all of this is being recorded.
I know. I don't see anything on here, but anyway, we can go ahead and discuss some of the stuff that we had talked about. Maybe some of the viewers will find it. I'm going to let you go over that book that we both got now, the Free Food and Medicine.
Yeah.
If you'll kind of.
You know what we could do? Since everybody's misled into going to the wrong room, you want to close this out and re-notify everybody for 10 o'clock?
Well, we can, but I done promised Caden at 10 o'clock we'd go through his bag, and he's done beat my door down.
All right, let's just go ahead and do this one then.
But if you'll do that, I'm going to go ahead and try to see if I can't get this here. I've got a couple of people that are texting me.
All right.
So I'm going to mute it. Just do it. If you would, just talk a little bit about the book and where we kind of got it and how interesting you found it to be in the last 5 hours.
All right. Go do your thing. All right, folks. Terribly sorry about how this is turning out both times so far. Our second time we're having problems getting in, but I think we got it all figured out now. They got so many different places to click on. You know, you got the Hangouts live on air. You got the video Hangout. Then you go on YouTube. You got the live event Hangout. It's just too much. But one of the things we're going to discuss tonight is this book. And we're not getting paid for advertising this book or nothing like that. I wish we were. But the reason we wanted to talk about it is because to both of us, this is the best edible plant book, medicine book, all of that in one that I've ever seen. And I got another one here that this was my main one that I usually read. I don't know if y'all can see that up there. Nature's Garden. And that one's good. Has a lot of plants in it and tells a lot about them, but that one's mainly, I don't know, it talks more about the history of the plant, where it came from, and all that stuff, when this one tells you, if y'all can't read that, this is Free Food and Medicine Worldwide Edible Plant Guide. Every living thing has a purpose, even weeds. And this one goes more in depth about weeds that you can just walk out your front door and see all over your yard. If you have a weed-free yard, then you could go walk anywhere on the side of the road and see these type of weeds. But it also has not just that; it has everything. I mean, it has house plants that you can eat, and it tells you all of what you can eat on them, if the whole plant's edible or whatnot. And then it also goes into the medicinal part, and I love that. And I mean, this is one of the things I talked about a lot on my channel, is needing to learn this stuff, because I got this book today and I done read 2 hours worth of it, because it's almost addicting. I can't hardly put it down. And it's got, let's see if I can do this like this for y'all. It's got a picture on every other page that matches whatever it's talking about on the opposite page. But it's awesome, man. I love it. It tells you, I mean, things such as headaches. It even tells you, it has plants in here that tells you that are good for a snake bite, like what to put on a snake bite, what type of plant. It shows you the pictures of the plants, pictures of the leaves, pictures of the fruit, and so on and so on. So it's a really cool book to have, and I think it's very important for us to learn all of that in the world of survival, wilderness survival, if that's what you're into. And it don't only go for surviving for bushcraft. This goes for preppers too, for everybody. I mean, you just can't go wrong. If you was to know this stuff, you can't go wrong. And there's some plants in here that this guy who wrote it, Marcus Rothkranz, I guess is how you pronounce his name. Rothkranz. Mm-hmm. There's some plants in here that are just one single plant, and the guy says you could survive off of this one single plant. I read a couple of them in there like that. And so, I mean, it's just something really, really good to know. If anybody watched my last survival trip, I wish like ever I knew the plants to eat out there, because I was having I would have starved to death if I'd stayed out there too much longer. So it's just definitely a very important thing to know this stuff. And I recommend this book. This is the best one I've seen yet. Mike, you got anything to say on it?
I mean, I've had the book now for about 6 months, and tons of information out of it. I mean, just the pine tree in itself. I mean, it's amazing at all the stuff that it tells you that you can do with it. If I can find a little article on it. The thing that I like the most about it, maybe some of the viewers can actually see this, is there's tons and tons of actual pictures.
You're doing the same thing I did.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing, I didn't get to watch it over because I was trying to invite, and I think I just sent a link out to it. But I mean, just what I thought was interesting about it was, for the beginner that wants to get interested in it, it gives you so many out of the front yard edibles. I mean, just right straight out, walk out in your front yard and see what you've been mowing for years. But I mean, also it says in the book, be careful, because if you've been using pesticides and things like that, you don't want to just do it. But it gives you so much stuff that you've just looked at and go, cruddy old weed, and then just throw it away or pick it up and till it out.
And it gives you an insight too on the difference between what you buy out of the store opposed to picking wild edibles. And one of the things I was reading about it was vitamin C. And it was saying the vitamin C that you buy out of stores is basically crap. It's synthetic, some kind of acid, synthetic something acid. And it's saying if you take too much of that, it does a reverse on what it's supposed to do. Like instead of antioxidants, it's oxidant. And it's just very interesting, and it makes a lot of sense. Go out here and grab you a handful of pine needles off a tree, and though I'll admit that's the nastiest thing I ever drank, put that in some water, heat it up, and you got the best vitamin C, vitamin K, or whatnot, but way better than what you're going to buy out of the store on pills.
One of the things that I learned out of that book, and don't quote me 100% because I can't remember all of it, but once the fruit is picked, it was like 50% of its nutrients are gone within 15 minutes. So picking it and eating it straight off the ground or straight off of the tree is better for you as far as getting all of the actual vitamins and nutrients that it actually offers. And it went on in there, I think like 90% of it by the time it hits the store shelf, unless it was, I don't know, there's no other way of doing it, but it was like 90% of all the vitamins and stuff is completely depleted from that vegetable or fruit or whatever it was that you had actually purchased.
Yeah, and you can do so many things with them, and it's another good thing to learn about them, other than just learning it as a wild edible, is what all you can do with it, such as the dandelions. There's so many plants out there in the dandelion family and a whole bunch of other families that you can turn the roots into coffee substitute. And that's something good to know if you drink a lot of coffee and you're out in the wilderness and don't have no coffee, which I never see dandelions out in the wilderness, but I see them all over my yard. But then other things tells you that you can crush certain leaves up, make a flour, and there's tons of them that you can do that with, you know. And that's something I've always wanted to do, or something I've always wondered about was, you know, what can I actually, I knew I could make flour out of acorn, you know, and certain other plants, but I didn't know there was such a wide variety of plants that you can make flour out of. And I'm guessing, and this is just a guess, almost any wild edible that you can eat, if it can be ground up into powder, then it can be turned into flour. That's just a guess. But after reading this book and looking at what a variety is out there that he says you can make flour out of.
The thing that I found interesting about him, it was 56 years old, I think is what one of the little things on it, and he looks 20.
Yeah, I saw that. He's 50 years old.
Yeah, it's 56 or 57, something like that.
And he's all muscle bound and looking young, and that's something else too. He talks about all these plants that takes the age out of your face, takes care of wrinkles for you. It's just great. Even plants that'll make me grow this receding hairline back.
Yeah, well, mine's receding a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as with the book and stuff, there's probably other books out there that's just as good as this, but for what was it, $30 maybe? Was that what you gave for it? I don't remember. $29.97, but I think you get it shipping and all for about $30 if you go to his website and you order it from it. But I mean, it's just, I stumbled across it with all the books that are on that case over there and the one that's over here. I've had all kinds of books, and they would just tell you what the plant was, and it would say edible or not, but it didn't give you any of the factors, as in, like, you know, it's been known to cure cancer or cure parts of cancers. It's been known to, you know, help with the prostate, or it's been known to help with, you know, skin sores or things like that. That's what I liked about it. It gave you a lot of the values and what you would be able to use it for.
And it's saying that's I forget how it quoted it, but it was saying that that's how to define a weed, is a valuable plant that has not been discovered yet as far as for its uses. And I guess because so much of it is useful for different medicinal properties, how come nobody's going out there and getting it for cancer? You know, because it hasn't been proven yet, I guess. But
that and the fact that there's so much money in the medical field that if we have a cure for something, then there's so many dollars that don't get moved around here and there. That's just my thought and theory. It's not based.
But it's a great book, y'all. Highly recommend it. I'm actually going to take mine out to the woods, something Mike and I discussed earlier about this book and about finding wild edibles right in your front yard. That's a good way to practice and learn your wild edibles, and that's something I'm going to do because I have tons of wild edibles right here in my front yard. I can walk out my door and count 25 just standing on my porch. But that don't mean that out in the woods those same wild edibles are. So what the thing is learn them in your yard if that's what you need to do. But if you got a certain spot where your bug out location is, or you know where you go camping in the woods like I do, go out there in those woods and carry the book with you and find out what's out there, because for me in my situation, what's out in the woods, which are just right over there across the street, is totally different from what's right here in my yard. I mean, I don't even know if any of these weeds in my yard are out there in the woods. So you need to learn both of them. You know, my best suggestion is go out in the woods with the book and find out what's around where you camp at and so forth.
I think with mine as well, I mean, that would be the best thing to do, is have the book with you, put it in your backpack. You know, as far as like with the bug out section and stuff, if that's what, you know, you were looking to do, to me, this book right here, so far, there may be other ones, and maybe some viewers will pop in here in a minute and tell us that there's some better books that are out there. But to me, it's one to go in the backpack of all the other 10 or 12 books that I actually have. But I don't think the link actually sent out. I mean, it did, but I don't believe that it's actually getting to them to be able to find it.
Well, folks, we're going to stay on a little past 10 to make up for the time we lost, and hopefully next week we'll have it all down pat and won't have to be so late. Like I said before, we're bi-weekly. 1 week it's on Mike's channel, and next week it'll be on my channel. So next week, this coming up week, will be my channel next Monday, and we just rotate from there. Mike's channel, my channel, Mike's channel, my channel. But we'll get it all together where we'll start broadcasting it way earlier than the last day and have it all set up right. But moving on, we had a lot of topics to talk about tonight.
One of the ones that someone had asked about, and it's on the Google thing. I thought that's the hangout that we were actually going to, but I messed that one up. But was bugging out with someone that has a disability. And Alan and I, we both have talked about it, but neither one of us had really given it much thought, or at least I hadn't given it much thought. And ever since that question came about, I've been interested in it, because one of my thoughts is any day, even though we may be preparing for something other, tomorrow we may be disabled. We don't know. I mean, that's without knowing. So thinking about it, not just doing it for a loved one, and and it doesn't necessarily mean someone. It can be an elderly person that may not can get around and move as much and stuff. But one of the things that an article that I read about, and I kind of confirmed it with my wife tonight. See, medicines. If you have a plan that you can get the 3-month supply, always, if you can afford it. That was one of the things that I read. Get that 3-month supply of that medicine, or some folks have catheters. I hope I didn't mess that word up, but I was asking her about it, and she says, you can get a lot of those medical supplies for up to 3 months. They're expensive, very expensive, if your insurance won't cover it. But one of the things that I was surprised that she actually told me was, a lot of times people have these, and maybe a loved one has passed away, they take them to the thrift shops and donate them. And you can pick these things up, a catheter that may be $20, $25, I'm not sure exactly how much they are, but she said like for pennies, just very cheap. And those medical supplies, not only for someone that may, be elderly or whatever, just for us in general, your ibuprofen and stuff like that, if you have a prescription for it for the 800 milligrams, and if you can get the 3-month supply, to me that would be a very big thing to be able to go ahead and get that 3-month supply if you can afford it at the time and stuff. But
yeah,
that question has really rung in my head for quite a while, because we don't know who may move in with us. We don't never, we're all getting older, and our parents, may have to come in and stay with us one day. And with that being the case, that would be something that, to start looking into, not just as in my case where I'm worried more about, getting the stuff ready for Caden and getting stuff ready for me. And, and a lot of this, in a sense, may not even ever happen, and we hope that it don't. I have my theories on some things, but I won't discuss those in the channel and stuff. But we don't know. Hurricane Katrina is a bug-out situation. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that your governments came and took over you, or someone got strung out on something other, and we all have a world full of zombies or anything. But I mean, it's an everyday thing. I mean, anything can happen. You're home. Just in Ringgold, Georgia here 3, maybe 4 years ago, one of the biggest tornadoes that had ever happened come zipping through, and it leveled out like 100 homes. It put those same folks out, for weeks. and there were tents being put up in the yards where their home once was. So I mean, any of this can happen at any time. Getting one of these prepared bags is not for the, I'm gonna bug out to the woods because the world's coming to an end and the government's taking over. It can be all kinds of scenarios, and I think that's where a lot of people get some of the misconceptions, as far as the bugging out, as most people have determined it, but I think it's more for emergency preparedness, and there's a lot of stuff that can be done with it. But with the handicap, a disability and stuff, and that was something that I learned today, by reading over it, trying to cram as much as stuff in there. The disability part is a much better term, is more preferred than handicap, and I guess that's something other that we all should take into consideration too, is we all have a disability of some sort. So it's not one of the bad things or anything like that. We have to take care of each other, and when something happens in that scenario, we need to be able to take care of them, and they need to be able to help take care of us, with their knowledge and things that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't get a chance to do a whole lot of research on the handicap. SSANF, she had requested that we do a topic on that, a bug out bag for the handicapped and disabled. And I'm really lost at that subject. I don't know, and I didn't do enough research on it. But one thing I did want to mention on that subject is, if y'all go look on YouTube for One-Legged Josh, this is a guy who has one leg, he's in a wheelchair, and he goes camping and does everything that we do, all the bug out scenarios and stuff, he does all that. And he's in a wheelchair, so mind you, if something was to happen, he can't just go hauling butt through the woods. He's going to need to be on a path where he can row the wheelchair. But that's just something to look into. This is a guy, you think somebody that's that handicapped or, without a leg would give up on doing stuff like that, which I'm totally against giving up on stuff unless you can't do it at all. But it's an inspiration to me to watch this guy go out in a wheelchair and camp and do bushcraft and have fun just like we do.
Another article that I had read, and I hope this is, this is not going to be a one-stop drop for me, like, okay, I got this one out of the way. I'm going to actually dig into this a lot more, because I really see a need to be able to teach and to be able to help with that, because these folks here, just like us, they're good people. They want to get out and they want to enjoy it and stuff like that. And I have a friend of mine. He's about my age. He actually has one wooden leg. He's blind and the hearing only in one ear, and I promise you, his name is Tim, and we call him Timmy. This cat can do anything and everything that anybody can do, and he will not give up. He is just one strong young man. He's not young, he's my age now, but he just, it blows me away. And that's a person that I know that, in the Cub Scouts and stuff, he's been active in it for some time, and that's something other I would like to get with him. And I've not spoken with him in about a year, I guess, but I still see him and stuff like that. But to ask some information from him, because he's into this kind of stuff, as far as, wilderness preparedness, being able to get up and go if he had to and stuff, and that would be a go-to for me, to help get some of that information. And for some reason in my head, it just really, when she put that in there, it just nailed me to, I guess, felt compelled to dig into that and, make that a part of, I guess, my channel in a sense. I'll have to do some research because I have no prior knowledge, other than, a wounded person or something other, getting them from point A to point B and things like that. That's about all the knowledge that I have. One of the hammocks, you and I, we had talked about it, and one of the articles that I read, it's a perfect, thing to have, because it can be used for a stretcher in an emergency situation. It also can be used, for maybe a person that can't walk for a long distance. It's quick to strap it up, and it's a lot lighter to swing it in between two trees and have a resting point for them to just be able to sit down on and rest their bones and their knees and joints and stuff like that. But I mean, that's pretty much all that I really have at this time. Like I said, I read a bunch of articles, but they're kind of closing in on me, trying to focus through all of them.
Well, speaking on the hammock and using that for a stretcher and so forth on there, that's another good reason to learn and practice bushcraft skills. And if you could learn how to make a stretcher, which isn't really hard at all, especially you can make a stretcher with 2 long sticks and garbage bag.
Right.
But to know that is something that's very important as well. So where if something was to happen, a scenario where you did have to run and take a handicapped person with you, you would easily know how to quickly throw together a stretcher that you might could carry him on if you have to, if he's that kind of handicap, or bushcraft, such as knowing how to make some real quick crutches for somebody, and they might not be handicapped when you leave out the house. Say your group is in a crap hit the fan scenario and they got to go and they're out there. Now you're out there in the woods for a week. Somebody falls and breaks their leg, and you got to get them somewhere. You got to do something with them, so you need to know how to do such stuff as that. And that's not a hard thing to learn, making a stretcher or making a crutch. And a crutch, you're not really making a crutch. Just cut a limb down that has a Y in it and you got a crutch.
Right.
It's some simple stuff, but it's good to know, because if you don't know it, then your mind starts going crazy, wondering, oh God, his leg's broke. What am I going to do? And you need to be able to think, oh, I can make a crutch, or, oh, I know, here, get that garbage bag. Give me 2 sticks. Let's make a stretcher real quick.
Some more woodcraft. I mean, that's, learning those things while you're out there and just seeing something and go, well, that's a crutch there. Just being able to pinpoint that through experiences of being out there and just watching YouTube as well. There's people that I've seen people that have made crutches just for those scenarios, to show the difference between not having one and having a whole woods full of them.
Right. What else did we have down for topics tonight?
There's one of the things that I sent you out, and I'm going to throw this one here at Allen just right out of the blue. He has no clue that this one was coming, because I was hoping that he wouldn't know anyway, so I know he don't. What is this, Allen?
A compass?
Yes.
Duh.
I'm sending you that link.
Read a little bit.
I'm sending you that link.
Okay.
I printed it off.
Other than a compass? Is it some kind of primitive compass or something?
No. I printed it off for you.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to send you the link to it later. The reason that I am is it tells you, how you and we have talked, and you've got a general sense of directions when you're out in the woods, and you may not know the exact, but it teaches you the compass bearings and how to use one and how to find your way from point A to point B with it. Unlike my son looking at it and going, this thing's broken, it's going around and around. But I don't remember the website that I got it from. I saved it in my favorites. But one of the things that it does is it says, I see that on your compass rose the direction of 45 degrees is called northeast, and 135 degrees is called southeast. Thank goodness, north, south, northeast, southeast. That's how I used to give directions. I'm much more comfortable with the names than numbers, but there's a reason for the numbers. North, south, east, and west, and northeast, southeast, and so on are okay as their equivalent azimuths and compass quadrant bearings. A few extra equivalents are also shown in the table. And what it does is that 26 degrees, 27 degrees. So if you get in that scenario where you have to find an actual place, going northeast and southeast doesn't get you to that degree to where you need to be. But that was just something else that I'd printed off, and I wanted to get that to you because I know that you and I have talked before, and I kind of do my compass going from point A to point B. I know exactly how to get back to the exact same spot that I left.
Yeah.
Per foot, you know.
As long as your batteries don't die.
Well, that's true. But I will say this. This, on a side note, and I am not getting endorsed by this company, they are horrible. That is the worst phone in the world. I would not depend on this thing here for. I wouldn't even use it as a weapon. I'd be afraid it would fail.
Speaking on navigation, before we get off that topic, I've never learned navigation other than just being good at knowing my directions. You know, I know the sun comes up in the east and sets in the west, and that's about as far as my navigational skills go. When I'm out in the woods, I feel like I know where I'm going, but I don't always know that. And no matter how much you think you know, it's good to learn navigational skills if you don't already have them. I escaped from jail one time in Blairsville, Georgia, and I was running through mountains, and I just knew I was getting a long, long ways away, and I was tired, and I was running up and down mountains, and I come across one open spot on top of this mountain that had power lines, and it was like sand right in there. Well, I stopped and rested there, and then I ran some more. About 4, maybe 6 hours later, I was back at another power lines, and I looked down, and it was my same footprints. So I went in a big circle and really didn't get nowhere. So no matter how much you think you know, those woods can be real, real tricky. And another thing on that is just knowing the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. That's not good enough, because if y'all saw on my last trip when I was out in the woods and I was going, I think I'm lost. Well, I really thought I was, other than the fact, I mean, I wasn't truly lost because I knew the river was one way and I knew the road was one way. I mean, I wasn't that bad lost, but knowing exactly where I was that kind of lost. But if you're in a forest and the trees are real tall, such as they are out here where I go camping at, you can't see the sun. If you're way deep in the forest, you don't know where the sun is. I mean, you can take a guess, but the trees are blocking everything. If the sun's sitting on one side or the other, and you got nothing but trees, just a big forest, it's hard to tell, you know, and can definitely mislead you with all the beams coming in through the trees and the shadows, and you're just looking at that. I think the sun's over there, so let's go that way, you know, and that's just probably the wrong way. So I agree. I don't have navigational skills at all. That's why Mike wants to send me all of this stuff that I'm probably never going to learn.
You will. I'm gonna stick to it and teach you these, even if I have to drive it. Well, I ain't gonna drive up there. It's 7, 8 hours.
Yeah.
When Allen had went out and done his thing, I'd sat down and I'd kind of written a little couple of page thing on it, and I'm going to kind of read it out and stuff. And basically, it's just a topic of knowledge, the key to surviving, or is it controlling fear and knowledge? Because I have a different outlook on being able to survive, other than just being able to put your backpack on and have all the necessities with you. But survival, really being prepared to survive, means being able to control your fears, manage your emotions, and put your ego in check. To truly be prepared to survive, you need to have a mindset that goes far beyond just having the skills to survive. We all have those skills, you know, or we work on them and we dust ourselves off and pick ourselves up. But basically, knowledge is the key to survival. But if knowledge alone is enough to survive, why is it that so many people with so little to no actual survival training have managed to survive some of the most horrific survival scenarios that we have out there imaginable? And I had mentioned it last week, you know, the rugby team that crash landed in the snow several years ago, and it's based off the movie Alive and stuff. basically those group of men, they had no actual survival training, no gear. What experts would say was no real chance to survival. The team had little food, no source of heat, and lack of proper clothing and shelter for the environment. Yet despite the odds being stacked against them, many of them survived and were rescued after enduring over 2 months of unspeakable conditions. 2 months, not, you know, a couple of days or something other. It just blows me away to know that these guys, you know, maybe a few of them might have had a few training here and there, you know, we don't know, we weren't there, but it's a touchy subject, I guess, in a sense. But as I wrote in here, you can take someone with all the training from the top experts in the world, give them the best survival gear ever made. If this individual does not have the will to live, and that's the key that I have been reading about in all of the scenarios of people that have been lost and survived. You know, there's children that are 5 and 6 years old that become lost. There was one just here in Atlanta. Temperatures got down to like in the 20s for 5 days. 5 days, and still survived. Haven't been around long enough to have had that training and stuff. So, you know, us with what we go out and do is very important that we learn those. But I think, in a sense, it's basically important. I mean, that will to survive is, and the will to live is what most of us, you know, possess in a sense. Because so often people, what was it, Nesmith wrote in one of his books, a young man tore up a field of 500 yards, I think, don't quote me 100%, but they found him dead, and he was less than so many yards away from his backpack, but from where he originally started lost, he was less than so many yards of like 20 or 30 yards. So he just basically went around and around and around in circles and just gave up, you know, because his mindset wasn't keeping busy. So that's what I had talked about with you in your video that you had done, you know, staying out there, and that's why I kind of probed those questions so much. Was I think that will to live is easier to obtain if you have those skills and you apply them and you break that scenario down into, I'm not going to die, I'm going to live. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to make my shelter. I'm going to do this, you know. And I think those people that never had that training, they have seen enough. So with a lot of these guys and gals that go out here and make the videos and stuff that I love to watch, you pick up little things that keep that in your mind. The last part of that, and I won't keep boring everybody with it, though, was this is everyone faced into a survival situation will experience unimaginable stress that will highly influence their thinking. Did that happen with you?
Rephrase the question a little.
Basically, whenever you become stressed out there, your thinking is influenced.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that happened.
With water, you know, I mean, you're exerted and stuff like that. And with that, you know, the overwhelming amount of stress that a survival situation will produce and how you ultimately respond to that stress will be a determining factor in the ability to survive that situation. Your fears.
It happens a lot easier than you would think it would.
Oh, I know. I mean,
you can sit in your house where you got a roof over your head and everything you need, such as we are right now, and think you can look out at the woods and say, no problem, I can make that, I ain't worried about it. But then once you get out there and nothing goes as planned, as it did on my trip, and then you start getting wore down from hunger, your body's needing water, your body's needing nutrients, and that starts working on your brain. And once it starts working on your brain, that's when you got to do something to keep thinking right. Because if you just kind of sit down and give up and drown in your sorrow, then you're just kind of walking towards death. You know, it's like if you're giving up hope without knowing it.
And it's that quick, that will to live is just. Derek had posted a thing one time, and I never did get to the end of it because I never did see who actually had answered the question correctly. But that was my answer. You know, he says, what is the most important thing that one can possess in a survival scenario, you know, and I put a will to live, but he never did answer back, you know, on it. But to me, that's the key. I mean, when you give up, you know, a knife is no longer going to be your important factor. You know, a box of crayons is just as good when you've given up, you know. But I mean, that was just something that I kind of wanted to throw out there because I had spent a little time reading a bunch of stuff, and then I kind of decided I wanted to write my own little article with it just to see how well, you know, that I could kind of interpret it back into it, you know. But to me, that's one of the key factors that when you learn, you know, skills and learn and watch others, you start building that will to live even higher, because you're now not prone to have as much stress. You're not as prone to go out and worry about what am I going to do next for this and that, you know.
And for kids, teenagers or younger, if you don't have any woods that you can play in or that you're allowed to play in, and you want to practice this stuff and you feel like you're kind of trapped where you can't, there's nothing wrong with practicing this stuff in your own yard. Kids and adults. I mean, I practice a lot of stuff right here in my own yard. You know, a lot of things that I do out there in the woods, I'll practice it here in my yard first to make sure I can do it before I go out there in the woods. So, I mean, that's just something to throw out there. Don't think that you have to wait till you're old enough to go on your own in the woods somewhere. You can do all this stuff no matter how old you are. You know, as long as your parents allow it. You know, don't go out there and play with a knife.
Yeah, make sure the parents know exactly what you're out there doing, and involve them if there's any way possible. Because
absolutely,
I mean, one of the things that when I done the Cub Scouts and teaching and stuff, one of the things that always surprised me was how the children were dropped off and came back and got an hour later. And that wasn't what the intentions was for. It was to get the parents involved with it and come in. You and I both, we watched JD outside. He won the Kelly kettle that I had given away. And it amazes me, you know, how him and his sister and his mother go out, you know, and they post a video about every 2 weeks and stuff. That's what it's about, you know, is whenever these things are traditions. These are passed on, you know, and a lot of us that are getting out here and making videos and things like that, we're still passing that on to other kids that, you know, may not be able to get that at home or whatever, you know. And I do, for parents watching, I do understand that it's hard to get up and get out there and work, you know, as many hours as we have to work nowadays and stuff. But that's a good point, you know. Get out in that backyard, and you know, I don't
know if kids still do it, you know, but when we was coming up, we were doing bushcraft without knowing we were doing bushcraft, and we played in the woods constantly. Which as we were coming up, we had to go play in the woods. It was kind of like something we just had to do. Our folks would put us out at 7 or 8 in the morning and tell us don't come back until they call us, and then they may call us in for lunch for a couple sandwiches and something to drink. And then we're back out playing again. And for us, the woods was what we played in. But we would go out there and build shelters, the same kind of shelters you see on YouTube. We were building them as kids, not knowing that they had a name. You know, we called them forts. We built little forts.
And ours was called huts.
Yeah. And my dad gave us all little BB pistols and made us have BB gun battles. So we were all building little hideouts to hide. They were the cheapest BB gun you could buy. I mean, you could see the BB and count the amount of seconds before it gets to its destination. But it was fun, you know.
Yeah, BB guns have came a long way now, so I wouldn't try it with these.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. But
do you have something else real quick you want to
I mean, other than, you know, I mean, I apologize that I kind of blotched this one right here getting it started, but I'll have a little bit more time next week to. I'll have 2 weeks to figure it out, because next week it's on you.
Yeah. The way Mike and I are running this is whosever week it is, it's up to them to do the promotion of the video or the hangout and take care of all the technical difficulties.
Yeah. So I faltered on this one.
And I faltered last week. So, but I think we both about got it down pat now. We both know where to click. We both know what to do. So let's hope next week will go better. We're going to run on past 10 o'clock a little bit since we was late on this one. Oh, you can't run past 10 o'clock, can you?
I got about 5 minutes I can hang out. My little boy, I've been promising him that we were going to go through his backpack and make his video, and he gave me an hour. But I faltered about 15 minutes of that, but we've got a few minutes.
All right, just a couple of things I wanted to touch down on that I think people should know, and this is very petty things, but important at the same time. One thing is carrying imported phone numbers in your wallet or in your bug-out bag or your tin or whatever it is. And I say that from experience because if y'all have watched on my channel way back to the 6-day Peace River trip where I pedaled a John boat from Bowling Green, Florida to Port Charlotte, Florida, I went out there thinking that I could rig my phone battery up to a car battery and make it charge. And when it got to the point that it was time to charge it, I blew the phone up or blew the battery up. It wouldn't work no more. And I was stuck without a phone. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I was way off in the middle of nowhere. I mean, out there you could scream to the top of your lungs and nobody would hear you. So there wasn't no turning back going upstream. I was in a part of Florida on a river that I didn't have no idea where I was and no phone. And not knowing any of my numbers, because in today's time, who remembers phone numbers? You know, you got them all in your phone. You think, why do you need to remember them? Why do you need to write them down? They're on your phone. Okay,
Can you name a phone number from 25 years ago?
Yeah, I can name one back from 46 years ago.
Isn't it amazing how before we got this technology? So that's a good topic to actually do, is sit down and put those in there.
I still know the number where I was born and raised at, 344-2424. Not hard to forget it. And the address. But yeah, that's a definite something you should do. As a matter of fact, I got mine written down somewhere, but I'm going to rewrite them down and put them somewhere where I'm sure they are. Because when I was on that trip, luckily I was able to remember my wife's phone number, and that was after dialing about 4 wrong numbers trying to get it. I know it was something like 6383, and so I was switching all those numbers around until I got it. And my phone was dead, and I ended up at a bridge in Port Charlotte, Florida somewhere, and I went up on the highway because it wasn't no park area. It was a place where I had to park and go through woods out of the boat. And I just stood on the side of the highway, and every time somebody went by, I did like this. You got a phone? You got a phone? And a motorcycle guy stopped, and him and this girl is on a motorcycle, and he let me borrow his phone. And I was like, man, I don't even remember a number. Do you care if I try a few numbers to try to get it? And I explained the situation to him. And my wife had already sent out the rescue folks for me. So by the time when I called her, when I finally got her number and talked to her, she said, hey, where are you at? And I told her, I don't know. I'm at some bridge. And she said, well, I done called the rescue. I said, did you really? And about that time, a police pulled up. And I'm a ghost hunter, and I have my own ghost hunting crew in Florida. So I knew this police from a part in Arcadia, Florida, where I was ghost hunting. Somebody called the police on us one time for taking pictures in the cemetery. And so it was all good. The police was cool with it. But when he pulled up, I walked up to him, and I said, hey. And he said, you're that guy from Whip's Paranormal Investigators, aren't you? And I said, yeah, you're the guy that come out there to the cemetery. But it was all good. But the moral of the story is write your phone numbers down, because you don't know how bad you need them till you're stuck without them and you need to make a phone call.
It is true.
And let's see, one more thing I had, wild edibles. I'll talk about this more on the next one because I want to do a video of it too. But have y'all ever heard of the fire technique fire rolling? I'm going to try this. I've never tried it before, never even heard of it before. But I saw this guy, Dave, I don't even know his name now, Dave something on YouTube, but he had a bowstring, fire drill bowstring made out of yucca plant. He tore that apart into all the little fibers, and he rolled it up like about that long till it looked like a little bitty hot dog or something, and he did it in his hand like that. He opened it up and poured just a little bit of cold fire ashes in it, rubbed it back like that again, and put it in between 2 boards, and rubbed the boards back and forth real fast and pulled it up, and he had a perfect ember going there. I ain't never seen nothing like that in my life. And I'm imagining you could do that in the woods, like just cut a limb in half and put something in between it and rub it like that. I'm going to try it.
I believe it'll work.
I do too. But
I've seen that video a couple of weeks ago, maybe,
uh,
and it blew me away just to be able to sit there. And I was like, what is this cat doing? I mean, but it brings me to a
yeah,
video. You can see my wife made one today of Caden when you go to the Facebook page. I think I shared it on mine too. But
uh,
look at it, and you'll see Caden, and she was watching him, and he's got this little board. It came out of the rocker on the front porch. He had broke it loose, laid it down, and
uh,
he's got about 15 or 20 different little green leaves and sticks on top of it. And he's got 2 sticks. You just got to watch the video.
uh.
And he's going, rubbing them back and forth together. And he was like, and then he rubs them some more, and then he goes, and he starts blowing on them. And he's just, I mean, it's wearing him out. But just watch the video. It's
Yeah, I
hilarious.
might have to go watch that. Well, we'll close with that. I am Allen Hobbs. My new channel name is Freedom Bushcraft. That's Mike Ware from Crash Bushcraft. This week we're on his channel. Next week we'll be on my channel. We apologize for all the technical difficulties we've had on these first 2, but we're going to do this every Monday, and we are going to get it right.
And eventually we'll have it right on.
We're taking all requests. If you have certain topics you want us to discuss, we're here. We're not just teaching. We're learning too. We're learning from y'all. You got a topic you want to discuss, we'll discuss it. And if we don't know it, we'll bring it up and let everybody else tell us everything about it. Plus, we'll research it out for you as well. But just let us know, and we will catch y'all next Monday at, we're raising the time up to 10 o'clock.
10 p.m.
10 p.m. That's Eastern time, right?
Yes.
So 10 p.m. and which this is my week for promotion, so I'll put all the promotion, or I'll promote the video up on Google Plus all through the week to let you know. But we'll see y'all then. You got anything else to say?
That is it, and I appreciate everybody stopping by later on when you get to see the views, because I got about 20 text messages in the last 2 minutes that said we can't get to it for some reason. So you'll get to watch it. It won't be live, but you'll get to watch it. And if you're like me, you probably won't watch the whole 45, 50 minutes of it. But that's pretty much it, and I appreciate it. Thanks, Alan, for stopping in with me.
All right. Y'all take care.